What's good, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. And we have a very special guest today, my cousin Shakana.
Hi.
And believe it or not, she had a kid 2 months ago. And we're going to talk about all things pregnancy, how to lose weight after pregnancy, and what you should expect during pregnancy. So let's get into it. Welcome to the channel, Shakana.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Thanks for coming on. We had your sister Cherish on not too long ago.
Yes.
We were talking about binge eating and all that. Check that out if you haven't seen it. That was a great episode.
It was.
But you and your sister are tennis professionals, and so fitness was a big part of your life, right?
Oh, it was a huge part. It was every single day. Close to 6 to 8 hours a day was fitness. It really was. We loved it. We were out there. You love-hate relationship as always with anything that you have put your all into.
2 years ago, you had your first son.
I did.
And he's awesome. And then just 2 months ago, you had your second son.
Double blessings.
Double blessings. And she snaps back, y'all. I just figured you would be the perfect person to come on and have this conversation about like how to lose weight after pregnancies and different questions that someone who may be just starting out pregnancy or maybe about to get pregnant, planning on getting pregnant. Well, in my head, if I would get pregnant, I would just take that time to eat whatever I want. I'm always like, I would binge all the time. It's feeding the baby.
Right.
So I guess my first question would just be, is that right?
Every pregnancy is different. So I'm going to start off by saying that every pregnancy is different for different people.
Check with your doctors before you follow anything.
Always.
Yeah.
But what I noticed for me is I had expected to be able to do at least some of that binge eating, because you're pregnant. You need to indulge a little bit. Come on, you're carrying this baby. But what happened for me is that you have these food aversions and the things you think you would crave and just go ham on that you usually love. A lot of those things I didn't like or didn't want, and you tie in morning sickness. For some women, it's their whole pregnancy. For me, it was only a couple of months with my first one, but with my second one, I had morning sickness for probably the whole first trimester and partially into the second trimester. So obviously during that time, I was not eating that much.
Yeah.
There is a balance for sure. I believe doctors say about 25 pounds is the average normal weight gain to have. So I believe it's like 25 to 35 pounds. So anything too far from that, you are going to have to work harder afterwards. So you want to be careful with that. And yes, did I indulge some? Of course. Like, I'm carrying this baby. So I am definitely indulging, but you do want to look at the health side too. It can't be just a free for all, because you do risk having high blood pressure if you're going into all just the salty snacks. You have to think about the baby's nourishment as well. But something I do always want to push and remind women is to listen to your body. So when I had certain cravings, I listened to that. Like at one point, I wanted a lot of seafood out of nowhere, a lot of seafood and fish. And I found out the seafood I was eating was actually high in iron. And there was a dip in my iron at that time. So my body was telling me what I needed. So it's good to get those fruits, those veggies in, but that's not always possible. There's times in my second pregnancy where I didn't want to see a vegetable, didn't want to look at a vegetable, but I did like fruit still. So you can compensate how you need to as well.
Did you work out while you were pregnant?
And I did. I worked out a lot during both of my pregnancies. My first pregnancy, I was still actually, I was no longer a professional tennis player, but I was still a professional tennis teacher. So I was still teaching. I was still on the courts, and I had actually gotten into weightlifting, like hardcore. I was really into weightlifting. It's called bikini bodybuilding style. There are some women who will do weightlifting throughout their whole entire pregnancy. For me, we found out when I talked to my midwife, the OBs, we found out that certain things, especially with the abdominal area, wasn't good for me during my pregnancy. But you can always compensate. There's no real excuse for sitting like a bump on the log, unless you are at risk of having your baby too early or preeclampsia or things like that, Yeah. But barring any serious medical health conditions, you can still work out, and it's great. It's great to look up different pregnancy workout videos. There's a ton of those out there, and YouTube has a plethora of those that you can do.
We'll link some in the descriptions below here.
Yes,
I'll get some of your favorite
definitely.
ones, and we'll link it down below.
That'll be great.
So when you're pregnant, you obviously, that comes with weight gain. How do you avoid, if possible, stretch marks?
Part of that is genetics. Part of it is just how your body is wired, how your body is made. We're all made differently. But there are some things that you can do to try to minimize it. One is moisturizing. That's what I did a lot of, is moisturizing, especially around those areas that are stretching. The belly areas, the sides, your legs, your bottom. Cocoa butter, shea butter, things that have those in there.
I love cocoa butter.
Are awesome to use. Having some extra water intake will always help with the elasticity of the skin, because, it's all with that elasticity. And so putting that on while you're pregnant, I did it while I was pregnant and after. And then I had very minimal to no stretch marks. You do want something that has water in it too, versus just a body butter. Get something that has water in it and moisturizing, plus the body butters too. If you want to add those, that's great. And you need to pamper yourself anyway. So that and taking baths, try to get the pampering time in while you're pregnant, because once baby comes, it's going to be even harder to do. So kind of getting your skin prepped early is a good tip.
That sounds similar to like loose skin. People always say, like, how do you avoid loose skin, losing weight? It's kind of like the same things. Genetics,
it really is.
Moisturizer, and water intake.
Okay, yes. It's very similar because it's the same concept. It's just stretching, two different reasons why you're stretching. And some of that stretch is weight gain. Some of it's baby. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah, and change your outlook on it too. It's a beautiful thing. Like, you got stretch marks, but it's for a beautiful cause.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I think that's great too. You don't have to be embarrassed by it at all.
Exactly. I think one thing that's impressive about your pregnancy journey is you stopped playing tennis, you had your kids, and then you started out modeling and acting right after that. So like, how did you go from pregnancy and that weight gain to where you are now, losing the weight and like snapping right back to better than before?
Right. It was sometimes it's easier for some women than others. I will give a shout out to my genes on that one. So
it's Sandy.
Yes, my mother, she snapped back right quick too. But at the same token, if I had did nothing, then there would have been no snappage.
Yeah.
So, but part of it with every woman, it helps to work out while you're pregnant, so you're not getting into this lethargy and getting used to being lethargic or making excuses already. That'll never help. And obviously working out is not only good for your body, but it's good for baby circulation too while he's in there. And again, that is barring any major health issues. I'm going to say that. I can't say that enough. And listen to your body. If you're doing something that the doctor said, oh yeah, you can lift that, you can go run this, and something in your body doesn't feel right, don't do it. That's just a disclaimer on the side. But some things that I did was walking a lot. There are different breathing exercises you can do to kind of contract your abs. And that's also going to get you ready for labor too. And building up those pelvic muscles, that's going to help you with labor and things. And then after pregnancy, something that helps is using your baby's weight for your workouts. So I would have my little baby, when I would do pelvic floor raises, I would have my baby sit in my pelvic area, and then I would raise up, raise down, raise up, go back down, and I'm using the baby's weight. I don't have to worry. I would do squats with him in my arms, and it was fun with baby. He's giggling and everything. It was fun for him too. And I actually got that from my mother. My mother did that with me, and she did that with me even through being 4 and 5 years old. I still remember holding my mom's legs while she would do her abs, and she would use me as her weight. And it was fun things to do, and it also helps you to snap back. And as far as modeling goes, it was interesting that I started to get more into my modeling career after having children. So there are things that you think about. A big thing in modeling, obviously, and acting is measurements. So you are watching that and still trying to balance, especially if you're breastfeeding, you have to balance going ahead and eating because if you don't eat and if you don't eat enough calories, then you're not going to have healthy milk for your baby. It might be watery, or your milk might run dry. So I would recommend, if you're having a career like that, to look and see what kind of nutrition, what kind of weight gain. Ask your doctor about your weight gain and your levels and things too, like that, to make sure that baby's getting all that they need. But breastfeeding itself burns calories like crazy. So that'll help you. That's on your side. So that definitely helps you. But the next thing is always just balancing baby and my career. And I think that's with any career, whether it's modeling, acting, or a day-to-day career, you're always having to balance spending time with your lovies and focusing on your work. With the modeling too, something that helps is not stopping your career because you're pregnant. So I started looking for things where they needed women who were pregnant, or didn't mind doing a photo shoot of a woman that's pregnant, or wanted to celebrate that. So I was actually I was on the cover of a magazine when I was pregnant with my first child. So that was fun, and it's a fun memory to show him when he gets older. And then with my second child, I was pregnant. It was a surprise, but it didn't stop my career. I actually did a commercial while I was pregnant, and I didn't know it at the time, actually. And I was wondering why, when I was doing some of the motions, the tennis motions, serving and things, I was feeling a little bit of a pull down there, and I found out that my lower abdomen, but I found out that was because I was pregnant. So you don't have to stop your career regardless of what it is. I mean, if you look at Serena Williams, she definitely did not stop her career. So, mama's strong. You can still have your career and have babies too, and keep it rolling. Look at Beyonce. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
You can keep it rolling.
How important is self-care post-baby?
Oh, self-care post-baby is, I probably can't even say how important it is, because after having a baby, a lot of times with most women, you kind of get the baby blues anyway. There's a lot of hormonal dips and changes that can affect your mood. So if you happen to have a partner that can help you with this, or even if it's a friend, a sister, a mother, anything like that can help you and remind you, or if you can put reminders on your phone to have some you time where they can take baby for just a little bit, even if it's just to get a bath, that's great. Have I mastered that? No, I have not. And sometimes I need those reminders, but it's super important to give yourself some kind of care so that you can rejuvenate, so that you can be the best mommy ever, whether that is going walking by yourself or taking a bath. Obviously I like taking warm baths, or reading a book, having a girl's day out, anything like that. That's going to ultimately, you can start to feel guilty. I think that's one of the main things, is women feel guilt.
The mom guilt.
The mom guilt, exactly. But when you come back, you're a happier mommy and you're a better you. So it's okay, mama. Take that time, step back. Baby will be okay. One thing that I would tell Shakana, who just is excited and just found out that she got pregnant, and we were trying and we were so, yes.
Exactly.
Is don't let yourself get pressured into using medical interventions that are not absolutely necessary. In my first pregnancy, they mentioned using an inducer, and it was one that I didn't necessarily need at that time because my body was progressing on its own. It did stall for a little bit of time, but I found out post-pregnancy that the amount of time that it stalled was not a dangerous amount of time. So when doctor comes in and is saying, we think we might want to give you some, they say Pitocin. That is one medical intervention that they use to induce, is Pitocin, and it's a natural thing that your body naturally produces to have your baby and to induce labor, but they just give you extra. Okay. And for me, my body didn't like that extra, and most women, when they have Pitocin, it definitely intensifies the contractions. What I didn't know is that it also intensifies it for baby. So it can cause baby's heart rate to go up or to stop for a little bit because the contractions are so intense. Something I would tell mothers to stop and ask is this medically necessary? Is this imperative? Are we in an emergency right now? What are the options or the outcomes if I don't do this right now? And those are things that I wish I would have done with my first, because I found out if I would have asked those questions, I could have had more time laboring, just letting my body labor how it wanted to, and it would have put less stress on my baby. So it did. They gave me that Pitocin. It put more stress on my baby, and his heartbeat stopped for a second. And that's scary. That's extra stress on you that you don't need. Granted, it started right up. You know, they let me know, hey, it's not a big deal. It started right back up, and his heart rate continued to be strong throughout. But there are a lot of mothers that once that unnecessary medical intervention, more times than not, I hear that they have had their birth stories, they have that Pitocin, and shortly after, the baby's starting to show some stress. The heart rate may be slowing down, and you know, you might have some medical professionals that says, oh, that would have happened anyway, there's no link to it. But I've seen things, and I'm apt to believe that it can, to believe different. With my situation, I believe that it does have some effect. It can. Let me say it can. I can't say it does every time, but it definitely can have some effect. And I've listened to some mothers where it did have an effect. I recommend as much as you can do naturally, and to ask and to get a percentage, you know, because it's easy for them to say, hey, we need to do this because it is medically necessary, or this is a good time to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But when you ask them, well, what is the rate? Are we in a 90% emergency, 80% emergency? What is the survival rate of baby if I don't do this?
Yeah.
And they might be like, oh, well, it's a 99.9% survival rate.
Yeah.
You know, but we just feel like this would be better to move along right now.
Exactly.
Then you're like, no, you know, let's just take our time.
Yeah.
You can take your time, mama. You can take your time. Even if you're in a hospital setting, take your time. Don't let yourself feel pressured. And whoever is in the room with you, have them help you to remind you. Because when you're in it, when you're in that situation, when you're in labor and you're in the thick of labor, it's easy to forget some of the things that you wanted to do. Yeah. And sometimes you need people to speak for you. And I actually wrote up a paper. We typed it up, and I gave that to my husband ahead of time because, again, it was during COVID with my first one.
Yeah.
So I didn't have my mom in there and my husband like I had wanted. So my husband, this was his first child too. So we both educated ourselves. We wrote a paper, and so he learned some of the terms, and he could speak for me because it can get intense.
Yeah,
and you're not sitting there trying to read a paper.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on today, Shakana.
You're so welcome.
Now, everyone, go out there and have some babies.
Yeah, I know, right? Doesn't seem to be a problem
for you.
For me.
Definitely not. And if you want to see more of Shakana and her sister, they model, they're acting on their Instagrams. I love following you guys on Instagram.
Oh, thanks.
What's your
following you.
What's your Instagram name?
It's twin_beauty_19. Yes.
Check them out. Check your sister out. And I'm going to drag them on. We'll do some more fun videos coming soon if they'll let me.
We always love coming to visit.
I know.
To hang out.
I know. And as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Give one for me and one for Shakana. Comment down below any hidden pregnancy gems that you guys have that worked for you or in your family. We'd love to hear it in the comments down below. And don't forget to follow me at New Life Fit 101 on social media, TikTok, Instagram, all the fun stuff. And I will see you next week.